Well, pretty sure we got the roller mill fixed, or ready to go. I said it had a lot of vibration in it, so what I did is came in and I put this post down to the floor, and I welded this piece on first, and then I made this one a little bit long, and I drove it in there with a sledgehammer, and then used this big heavy angle iron. Gave it a nice brace, and it took probably 85-90% of the vibration out of it. I dropped that idler down. I need to make a longer bolt for it because the bolt's too short, or put a hole in the bottom. And you know, most of you haven't seen the video. It was one of my first videos, but these two plates here had bent. They were too thin, and so we redid those with 1/2-inch plate steel, and I welded all day, all morning, with 70-18 rod. This is all 1/4-inch steel, 1/2-inch steel, and then I started having issues. I don't know whether my rod had some moisture, but I've talked to a lot of people, and I've experienced it. I've using that firepower rod you get at Napa, and man, that stuff is just a pain in the dick. I really am not very happy with that stuff, but I'm almost out of it. And we did all those pins, and you can weld, half a day, and then all of a sudden it'll just start giving you fits. But yeah, so we got our little chute up here. It's just clamped up now, that way we can see where we like it. But I threw a bunch of loose corn in it, and it threw it completely down here into the middle of the shop, so we should be ready to roll corn. Yeah, I gotta seal up the little holes on my auger box. Those, I haven't ever run corn through it, but I just left those. We're just gonna caulk them shut. But yeah, it's should be ready to start going. I gotta roll corn here probably in a month's time. So I gotta get my grain truck ready. It needs a lot. It needs oil changed and all kinds of stuff in it, but yeah, I was gonna start it up, but I think I'll just wait till we're rolling corn. It's doing pretty good. I'm happy with it. This roller mill, we just took it apart, and it was an old pull behind. I have no idea who made it. My neighbor has one, and I was gonna get the name off of it to see, but it ran with belts, and I switched it over to a chain drive so I could run an electric motor on it. But I think a lot of my problem is this motor was sitting out here. It's kind of cantilevered out, and it just had a lot of vibration to it when you were turning it on. You can see that plate that it sits on. I mean, I drove it up there a ways. It's got a little bow to it where it goes back up, but there's nothing wrong with that. I've tried to keep as much onto that wall as I can, and I probably should have poured a 6-inch wall or an 8-inch wall, but I just poured a 4-inch wall. But that's, money constraints. What I should have done is I should have made this part of the building, where I knew I was going to have that roller mill. I should have either built a unit outside, or I should have built this part of the building, through, probably 5 foot taller at least, and got the roller mill back out of the way, and built a big steel framework under it. But this is what I could do with the money I had, and I think it's gonna work just fine. If anything, I'll just have to take my loader and push the corn here, but I can't haul enough corn with my bobtail to fill this bay up, so it's not a big deal for me. What I'm gonna do is I have not my big auger, but that little auger there. What I'll do is I'll set it out here, and I'll feed it into this hopper, and then this auger will take it up there and into the roller. I was very, very adamant about putting that auger there because, you know, it's out of the weather and it's out of the way. It's extremely out of the way right now. And I don't have to move it. It's in place. And that's from where I started and the way I was having to do things. It was just always a task, moving everything around, and because I'm always doing it by myself. And so if this is just one less thing I have to move around, and it's more permanent, and I don't have to have a tractor sitting on front of that roller mill and 3 augers, and you know, now I've got to have 1 auger coming from the truck. I don't have to have an auger coming from the truck to the roller mill and then another auger into the bin. It's right here. But yeah, just a little update. If that's where we decide to keep that little drop pan, we're just gonna put a bolt through here and bolt it. But we just we're dicking around and bin it and put it up in there. There's a shot of the rolls. Really, really good set of rolls. They were re-grooved. My dad had them re-grooved when he tore this thing apart the first time. But I put all new bearings in it and chain drive and everything because it needed it. The bearings were fine, but if I'm going to go ahead and take it apart, I might as well put new bearings in it, especially since it's up here. I don't want to have to take it down again. But yeah, the other thing I'm going to have to do is I got some molded corn, which cattle will eat molded corn, so it's not a big deal, but we use snap ties on our forms. If you'll see, all this plywood's got a hole, and I'll show you a set of snap ties. They're pretty cool, but we formed all this wall with snap ties, and that's the remnant of them. They go in between the two forms, and they have this little yellow deal to keep concrete from coming out. But it'll space your form at 4 inches, so you don't have to tie everything rebar wise. So they're pretty amazing and they're quick. But I don't think I'm having any moisture coming through that. I may on these, but I put a bunch of dirt back up behind this barn to help support the walls, since I only poured 4-inch walls. And I put a shit ton of rebar in them, but they're still only 4-inch. The concrete was testing over 4,500 psi, and that was I think without the polyfiber, but I know we put polyfiber in these walls. They were supposed to have had it in it, and if I remember correctly, we put polyfiber in it. But so the walls are really, really stout, but what a lot of these guys do is they'll put dirt behind, behind this part will be dirt because the tin doesn't go all the way down. But we're not used to having moisture here, so I think I'm having some water wick through my concrete. And what I'm going to do is I got some concrete sealant, and we've used it in some basements that we've rebuilt for people and some big like hardware stores and stuff, and some big buildings in Clayton where we've had to pour retaining walls under them because water was coming in from the streets. And we put concrete sealant on this side, not, because you can't get to the back side when you pour retaining wall like that. And it works just fine for keeping the water out. And so what I'm just gonna use some silicone and fill these with that, and then I'm gonna, while I have this open, I'm just gonna take that concrete sealant and go against these walls and see what I can do. I think it'll work just fine. scrape some of this mold away from it. It's molded, but I'm gonna have to wait for it to dry out. So, and with this little pile of corn, what I'll do is I'll do this side first, and then when I get to start rolling corn, and then I'll do that side where that corn is, and just kind of do it as I go. I'm sure the DDG's needed as well. The hay bunker I don't have that problem with. But the other thing is, on the hay bunker, is I don't have anything sitting against this wall, so I'm not having that issue of moisture coming through. Probably just because it's hot in here and it wicks that, you know, it dries that moisture up, but where it's got that feed sitting against it, then it's just drawing that moisture and it's keeping it cool. So that's what's coming up for this project. Gonna go rebuild the disc tomorrow that I tore apart this spring, because I'm gonna need it here pretty quickly to start disking ground for wheat. But yeah, so I thought you would like to see that, and as soon as we're rolling corn with it, I'll put a video camera in here and you can try to watch it through the dust, because it does get really dusty. But thanks for watching. You know, comment, rate it, you know, tell me if you have any better ideas or not, but I think it'll work the way it is. So, you guys take care.